Cully has a rich history that is constantly evolving. First, home to the Chinook Native Americans, then the dairy farmers, to industrial companies, transforming it into the unique place that it is today, a contrast of wildlife, industrial, commercial, and residential landscapes. The broader Portland area is perceived as this liberal haven, but what people don't know is that there is a racist history of deliberate displacement that still affects minorities today. The gentrification of the historically black neighborhood in central Portland in the Albina area had led to the clearing of hundreds of African American owned homes and businesses. With that in mind, some of the strong attributes of the Cully neighborhood are their values for anti-displacement and resistance towards gentrification, with a mission to foster agency over their community. In addition, activism has led to initiatives that improve the neighborhood and protect vulnerable populations. For example, some recent and future projects include Cully Park and Las Adelitas, a redevelopment of the former site of the Sugar Shack, which was a strip club and public nuisance to the neighborhood. The surrounding area is a variety of building types that scale from mobile homes, detached single-family, to multifamily complexes, making it a really dynamic environment to live in. As a result, communities of color are half of the population, primarily comprised of Latino or Hispanic, African American, Asian or Asian American, with 1/4 of those residents speaking a language other than English. Moreover, in the past few decades, there has been a demographic increase in Central American, Somali, and Vietnamese immigrants. Some of the organizations that are at the forefront of change are Living Cully, Hacienda, Habitat for Humanity, Verde, and NAACP. The self-advocating nature of Cully residents makes for a lot of improvements in the future.
A library is a public space, a place where people go to connect with resources. When those resources combine with locals in the community, a unique and constantly evolving space is created to stimulate growth among patrons and locals within the community. And with that being said, I think libraries are, in general, changing and becoming more than just physical space, but also a social and a digital space, including not just physical resources like books and computers, but also emotional resources like community support and spaces for discussion among a diverse group of people.
Before there can be a Cully library, there needs to be fundamental changes in the infrastructure of the site. An element that is lacking is accessibility in relation to resources and how to physically get to them. The goal is to eliminate obstacles for disadvantaged groups and make travel methods more inclusive without the need for a car. Existing conditions conclude that there is an auto-oriented culture in Cully that neglects pedestrian and bike pathways. In fact, only 34% of Cully streets have sidewalks. Portland Highway is a high-speed road where vehicles on average travel 45 miles per hour with limited sidewalks and narrow bike lanes. Our proposal includes traffic calming strategies and crosswalks for better walkability and overall safety. The improved bike and pedestrian routes will contribute to a stronger relationship between networks of Cully's assets. In order to elaborate on community building, we also propose a pedestrian street between the library and Las Adelitas. This really emphasizes valuing people over machines and ties the community closer together.
So the main idea behind the concept was to take needed resources like access, community, equipment, technology, and combine them with 3 programmatic elements of build, gather, and learn to generate a makerspace for the mind where locals could come and work together and start to generate diversity, safety, education, and growth, things that the community can start to use as tools for upward mobility.
Bibioteca Caminanza acknowledges that people don't come in a standard mold. It's important that the program reflects inclusive spaces that encourage exploration, collaboration, and creativity. The intention was to address different learning styles and give options for people that are more visual and active learners. The idea of the makerspace is to establish a productive environment to develop life skills to be able to exercise them in their passion projects. People practice problem solving, artistic expression, ingenuity, whether in the form of customizing a car or bike, to printing t-shirts for a small business, or crafting a chair in the wood shop. Another element of building is through entrepreneurship and career development. There are so many barriers like loan bias for minorities and discrimination in the workplace that get in the way of building intergenerational wealth. Our library recognizes the systematic inequalities and has programs to equal the playing field for people of color and women. Ultimately, the objective will be to use equity practices to promote upward mobility and close the existing socioeconomic divide, while promoting a thriving local economy.
We really wanted Bibioteca Caminanza to be a place for everyone to learn, providing access to equipment that has become an unspoken expectation, like internet access and computers, supporting the use of this equipment with classes and tutoring to truly create equal access to technology. We also wanted to empower people through knowledge. Library patrons are encouraged to freely explore different topics in classes, and the library spaces are actually organized in a way that provide a lot of opportunities to discover new skills and knowledge. Also giving exposure to discussions about issues of injustice and inequality to help people understand things that they might not even have been aware of. Additionally, Bibioteca Caminanza provides diversity through books, emphasizing representation of people of color in books, especially for teens and children, giving them the opportunity to read about amazing people like themselves. But we also wanted to provide resources that challenge the traditional book learning experience. Not all people learn the same way, so by providing hands-on classes and 3D immersive cinemas, these interactive spaces surround patrons with visual images and physical objects and sounds to provide a sensory learning experience.
The Black, Brown, and immigrant experience in Portland, better yet in America, is one of struggle, but most importantly, it is one of perseverance. There is a constant reminder by the mainstream media that our voices don't matter. Given that libraries are one of the only places where people from completely different walks of life come together, they hold great potential for cultivating empathy and appreciation. The pedestrian pathway and outdoor spaces become a platform for cultural expression in song, dance, and art for big cultural events like Cinco de Mayo, Lunar New Year, and fairs. Consequently, through interaction and cultural celebration, people learn from each other's differences and gain new perspectives about their neighbors. Overall, it promotes spatial ownership and a sense of identity for Coley. Bibioteca Caminanza provides a public stage where stakeholders like residents, nonprofit organizations, city planners, and developers can come together to initiate participatory collaboration. By strengthening partnerships and increasing community involvement, the residents have the opportunity to advocate for themselves. On top of classes and workshops, people now have a place to organize social movements against injustices they experience and exercise their right to gather around political discourse and activism. The librarian purpose becomes a place to amplify voices to shape Coley in the community's authentic vision. People need to be reminded of the power that they hold and the value of their story. It is important that we change the meaning of what a library is from a final destination to an answer into a journey of healing, truth-seeking, and self-discovery. Caminanza is a combination of both the Spanish words camino, path, and esperanza, hope. The name exists because it encompasses the notion of finding hope in an onward path to a better life.